Hi, welcome to a new episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. I'm your host, Marek Mularczyk, and this is episode 70 of Photoshop Lightroom TV. So I've got a whole number, episode 70, and this week I'll be talking about Photoshop CS6. As you already know, Photoshop CS6 is now available as a public beta download. So you can download it for free from Adobe Labs, because the beta is available from Adobe Labs website. You won't find it on adobe.com, you go to labs.adobe.com. So I'm going to have two videos on Photoshop CS6 for you this week. Now, if you follow in my blog at PhotoshopLightroomTV, you know that I'm creating new videos on new features in Photoshop CS6. Every day I'm recording one video. So let me show you the first video. This will be on the new features in Patch Tool in Photoshop CS6. Now, as you remember, in Photoshop CS5 we had a new Content Aware fill, and we had Content Aware in Spot Healing Brush Tool. Now in Photoshop CS6 we have Content Aware in Patch Tool. Let me show you how you use that. You probably know the Patch Tool, you may have been using it in the past. It's here in the Tools panel, okay? But what's new in the Patch Tool is the Content Aware fill. Now let's have a look at some examples here. I've got this image here, and I'm going to try to remove this sand and rocks in the bottom right corner. So I would normally go for the patch tool, patch normal, okay, source, okay, and I will just create a selection around this area here. And I'll click inside and drag, reposition it. I'm going to put it, oh, hold on, just give me a second. I don't know why I've got an adjustment layer here. So I've got this patch, and I'm going to click and drag. Let's say here, release the mouse button. It does quite a good job, but the problem is this shadow here looks like a smudge that appears quite often. That's quite common for the patch tool, especially on the edges. So I'm just going to set the patch to Content Aware here. This is new in Photoshop CS6. So I'll set the patch to Content Aware. I'm going to create the same selection around here. The rest will be exactly the same. I'll click and drag. I'll reposition that, let's say, somewhere around here. Release the mouse button, and the snow smudge in the bottom right corner. That's how so much better it is with the new Content Aware. Now let's have a look at another example. I've got another image open here. Okay. I'm going to try to remove this person from the image here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Right, let me just move that. I'll start the usual way, so I'll set the patch to normal. I'll create a selection around this person. This is a really difficult example because we've got the wall here and the background at the bottom, the pavement and the street in here. I'll click and drag, and I'm going to try to clone it on the wall here. Okay, and the same stuff as usual. It's this smudge in here and in here. Looks not too bad, but this smudge here, and it's in front of this container on the wall. So I'm going to undo it, the last few steps. I'm going to set the patch to Content Aware. I'll create the same selection around here, and the same finish here. I'm going to drag it here on the wall, release the mouse button, and look at that. There's no smudge, okay, and it cuts out here from the container. So much better, big improvement over the previous versions of the patch tool, in previous versions of Photoshop. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on Patch Tool and the new Content Aware in Photoshop CS6. This is me again. I'm back, Marek Mularczyk from SAItraining.co.uk, one of the UK's leading specialists in Adobe Certified training, and an author of a blog at PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. Now I've got one more video for you, and if you following me on either Facebook, on Twitter, or LinkedIn, or Google+, you know I'm sharing loads of information every day, Monday to Friday, so check it out, connect with me. Now the second video is on the new blur filters in Photoshop CS6. There are 3 new blur filters. and I'll show you them all one word of explanation after the video. So let me show you the new blur filters in Photoshop CS6. There are 3 new filters in Photoshop CS6. You find them under Filter and Blur. Well, I'm talking about the blur filters, okay? Because you can see some other filters here as well. But under Blur, there are 3 new filters, and they group together: Field Blur, Iris Blur, and Tilt Shift Blur. I'm going to start with this image here. I have it opened, and I'm going to show the first filter from the blur. I'm going to choose the Iris Blur. Okay. Notice what's happening when you choose one of the blur filters. The Photoshop interface changes, the Tools panel disappears, the mini bridge and timeline disappear in the bottom, and on the right hand side you've got the blur filters. Also in here it says Blur Gallery. Okay, so I'm in the Blur Gallery workspace, we could say. So I'm going to use the Iris Blur in here. There's a blur section setting in the Properties panel, I could say, in the Blur Tools panel actually. And here's what you can do here. Okay, so we've got this setup point here. That's where the blur starts. So I'm going to position it on the front of the train. Then you can change the size of this circle. So I'm just going to click in here and move it down a bit. This part here as well. You can make it into a perfect circle or oval, any shape you want. I'm going to drag this down a bit. Okay, sounds okay. I'll increase the blur just a bit. Okay, now these points here will show you how far the blur, where the blur actually starts. It starts from here. So what you can do is you can drag it out or drag it in. Okay. When you use the mouse button, the filter takes place. I'm going to move it to here so you can see the effect, and I'll drag it out towards to here. Okay. But here's the interesting thing, what you can do. If you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, you can move these pins independently. So I'm going to move this one to the edge. With that one here, I'll move it maybe, let's say, to the top of the window, and this one somewhere here. Just moving them independently by holding down the Alt key on a keyboard. Okay, I'll accept that. That's okay. Now, in the next image, I'm going to show you another blur filter. So I'm going to click on this tab here, and this time we'll go to Filter, Blur, and we'll do the Tilt Shift, a very popular effect. Okay, so here's the pin again. So I'm going to move the pin on this chap here, right? It's a bit like the graduated filter, so you're probably guessing you can click and drag on these lines to expand the effect. You can also rotate it, right? Okay. If you hold the Shift key down, you can move it in a straight line. Okay, I'm just going to move it a bit. Okay. Right, you can expand these lines as well for the effect. So I'm going to keep it like that. And here, in the Blur Tools panel, you can set the blur and distortion as well. So you can increase the blur or lower the setting. I'm going to increase it just a tiny bit. Okay, maybe rotate it just a bit more. Okay, and you can put distortions here. You can see how the image changes. So I'm going to just leave that. And this is the Tilt Shift Blur. Now we've got one more, the Field Blur. So I'm just going to cancel this filter for now in here. I'll just press cancel. And I'll show you the other one, the Field Blur. Okay, with the Field Blur, what you get is this pin in here. Okay, so with this pin in here, we can position where you want it. Okay, just going to put it here. Oops. And we've got the blur setting. Just going to set it to 0 for now, and I'll start increasing it incrementally. Okay. Might be a good idea to set the high quality for the Field Blur filter. And as we move it around, you can notice how this area stays in focus and this area goes blurry. Okay. So I'm going to keep it on the chap here as well as usual. Okay, and that's how you use filters in, well, the new blur filters in Photoshop CS6.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this video on new blur filters in Photoshop CS6. One word of explanation. I got a couple of people asking me why on the video that I have created on the blur filters there's no circle around the center point where you can click and drag to change the settings, like for example on the video that Brown and Neil Hughes from Adobe created. Now here's why. You won't see this circle if your graphics card doesn't have an acceleration, GPU acceleration, or if you haven't updated drivers for your graphics card. So that's why. The computer I was using to create this video didn't have the GPU acceleration. That's why. Okay. I hope you enjoyed it. This was episode 70 of Photoshop Lightroom TV. I'm Marek Mularczyk from saitraining.co.uk and from PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, and I hope to see you next week in episode 71. In the meantime, remember, every day on PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, one new video on new features in Photoshop CS6. I'll keep on going until I share with you all new features in Photoshop CS6. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by. Marek Mularczyk, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.